Hello everyone, you're welcome to this edition of The Inside on Equinoxe Television. I am Bable Jonathan. In this edition of the program, we are taking you into the world of refugees, notably Cameroonian refugees in neighboring Nigeria. There are the thousands who fled their homes in the northwest and southwest regions of the country because of the armed conflicts going on there for close to 5 years and are now seeking refuge in different parts of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We will also talk about internally displaced persons within the national territory, Cameroonians who were living peacefully in their homes in the northwest and southwest regions of the country but had to abandon everything to seek refuge and safety in other parts of the country. We're going to be talking about this in this edition of the program. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today, Dr. Atancho Celestine, is a civil society leader, board chairman of the Community Refugee Relief Initiative, CRRI, a humanitarian committed to improving the living conditions of internally displaced persons in Cameroon and Cameroonian refugees in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Doctor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Babylon.
The organization which you're leading has been meeting with these IDPs at the level of the national territory, notably in different regions of the Republic of Cameroon, in the Francophone and as well as in the English-speaking regions that are in crisis for close to 5 years today, and also the refugees in neighboring Nigeria. What are the latest figures as per your statistics on the ground?
Thank you again for having me, Babylon. As far as statistics go, you have different sources that give you different numbers. We've had about 80,000 refugees in Nigeria. In Cameroon, we've had about 2 million internally displaced. But we are not very worried about the numbers. We know the numbers are there. It is the individual stories that touches us. We've seen homeless, of course, they're homeless and they have been displaced to internally in different parts of Cameroon. Some of them are living in very, very terrible conditions. Hunger is a big problem. In Nigeria, besides the hunger, and they also have security problems. They've been harassed by the local authorities in Nigeria in some cases. And then the stipend that they get, those who are in the refugee camps, is not forthcoming. So the situation is very dire.
Harassed probably because of identification issues, probably because of things like permission or residence permit.
Correct.
And things like that.
That is right. That is right. But the good news is that the local authorities are beginning to solve those problems, and they are less and less seen.
Right. Coming back home, you've been meeting with some of these refugees in the west region of the country, in the northwest region, and other parts of the country. What are the stories that they tell you?
Hunger is a big problem. Health issues. We receive on a daily basis very difficult health situations that with the little resources we have, we try to help. The big thing is hunger. We've been able to provide foodstuff, medications to a lot of them in Douala, Banga, Chang, and Bamenda. We have decided to be more sustainable with them, and that is why the training program, we're trying to focus more on the training program.
Right, we're going to get into more details about that training program. There are reports of some of the internally displaced persons, especially young girls, who have been forced into some kind of sex business because of the difficult and horrible conditions in which they find themselves today, unable to put food on the table every day. Did you meet some of them? Did you get to know more about these stories?
Yes, unfortunately, that is a sad reality. I have traveled to Douala and Yaoundé and have seen that firsthand. And it's really sad that our little girls are being forced to be exposed in this kind of situation.
And there are also reports about children
yes,
unable to go to school.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's really sad. And the sad thing is that everybody seems to be going about their business as if everything has been solved. But the problem is still there, like it was 2 years ago, it was 5 years ago.
And those who are out of the country could be facing issues of harassment, as you indicated. But beyond that, the fact that they are out of the national borders, what are other challenges that have come to worsen their situation because of the fact that they are away from their motherland, they are away from home?
Just imagine, Babila, that as we're talking here, you find yourself in Nigeria, unprepared. You know, you don't know where to sleep. We've seen people sleeping in churches, and they have to leave during the day, come back at night to sleep. You see 16-year-old girls, they don't have a parent out there, and they have like 3 or so siblings that they have to care for. It is really terrible, the situation that our people face out there in Nigeria.
And there were also reports of issues with obtaining farmlands to do some kind of cultivation of crops that could help in their quest for food, but they were finding it quite difficult with this, getting farmlands over there in Taraba State, in Benue, and elsewhere.
Yes, some of them have been able to organize themselves, get a farmland, do community farming, and share the proceeds. But you know, these farms, they're dependent on their hosts to be able to give them these farms. It's challenging because they get harassed. The thing about the refugees is everybody knows that they can harass them and get away with, and so they are very vulnerable.
They are very vulnerable. Now, when you talk to them, did they tell you that they have been receiving Cameroonian authorities who are or who have the prime responsibility to protect them, to give them food, and to ensure their safety and security?
I haven't heard any of such. What I hear about is the UNHCR that is supposed to provide them with sustenance and security in some form, but again, they get harassed continuously, and the little stipend that they're supposed to receive is not forthcoming. They can go 3, 4, 5, 6 months without receiving. We're talking about like $5 a month. That is not forthcoming. So they are forced to starve, literally starve, and some of them have even committed suicide. We've heard of those stories.
Some of them have committed suicide?
Yes, in the camp in Ogoja.
Right. When you discuss with them, what are the opinions that you get from the conversation with them? The opinions about what's happening back home, about, you know, returning home one day and things like that?
The average refugee out there in Nigeria has no political say. They care for their safety and well-being, and they would like to return home if the conditions at home permit them to do so. And that's the unfortunate thing, because they don't have a say about what is going on. They just want to have peace, tranquility, and a possibility for them to care for their loved ones and themselves.
They're just seeking to live.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to talk about how you've been trying to kind of improve on their living conditions, and of course, how you've gone as far as not only giving them food and probably some money, but also teaching them how to fish.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll come to that in a short while. Time for us to go to the newsstands, and we're going to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week. Immaculate Fogwe with the press review.
As reported by the Guardian Post, a soldier allegedly shoots a man to death for non-possession of an identification card in Noah Subdivision, Northwest Region. Another edition of the Guardian Post says power tussle further sinks the independence struggle in the northwest and southwest regions. But Rising exclaims, Anglophone Crisis, Sisi Tabe speaks out as he says the genocidal war will ultimately end with the will of the people prevailing over any military might, while demanding for a fact-finding mission in the northwest and southwest regions. The median quotes jailed separatist leader Sisi Tabe, who says, "It is painful staying in jail, but I have no regrets." Echo Outlook reports over 150 elephants invade Mayodanai division in the far north region, terrorizing the population and destroying their crops. Municipal Update says Africa hails President Paul Biya for best AFCON ever. The Post, Senegal's Teranga Lions beat near to success syndrome by grabbing their first ever AFCON trophy. Newswatch highlights how Governor Awa Fonka Augustine surmounted obstacles to make Cameroon proud in the organization of a hitch-free AFCON in the West region. Eden exclaims, after AFCON distraction, nation returns to business. Municipal Updates, after AFCON, President Paul Biya is bent on completing the Olympic Sports Complex.
Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. We're talking about internally displaced persons in the Republic of Cameroon, persons kicked out of their homes by the 5-year-long armed conflict going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic. There are many who are now seeking refuge in neighboring Nigeria, and one of the civil society non-governmental organizations bringing some aid, striving to improve on the living conditions of these Cameroonians who are out of their homes within the national territory, out of their homes in neighboring Nigeria, is the Community Refugee Relief Initiative, CRRI. And of course, we are having as guest today Dr. Tancho Celestino, who is the board chair of that organization. What have you been doing to improve on the living conditions of these Cameroonians?
Okay, I'll just give you a little recap of how this whole thing started. February 2019, it was my birthday, and I was planning a trip to go celebrate my birthday, and a friend sent me disturbing videos of the refugees in Nigeria, and I decided to go see for myself what the situation is. And on that trip, I went with my wife and a friend. 3 of us, never been to Nigeria before. When we went to Nigeria, what we saw was terrible, to say the least. We saw little girls pregnant, went to the refugee camps. There was like people in a flea market in their numbers. And there was hunger situation. We visited the local health clinic. There was barely anything. Fortunately, we came with a lot of foodstuff. And this trip was made possible by the community in Delaware, United States, and the surrounding. The churches also contributed to this trip. So what we saw made us to want to do more. We came back to the United States and decided to form Community Refugee Relief Initiative in May of 2019, so that we can better prepare ourselves to help them in the long term. And we went back to Nigeria, December of 2019. This time we decided to train them in career, vocational training, so that they can be able to care for themselves and their families. And in that trip, we enrolled over 300 refugees in different trades: carpentry, tailoring, hairdressing, etc. And there was some attrition, and the number dropped to about 260, which have been consistent in the training. Last year, or 2021, April, we graduated the first batch of 120 refugees in Nigeria. And we are hoping that we'll be able to provide them with startup support so that they can be able to maximize their success in the training program.
What's the response from the beneficiaries?
Very appreciative, very appreciative. they are doing their best to survive, to attend training in spite of the hunger and transportation issues. Unfortunately, we are not able to provide transportation and feeding during the course of the training. We have resources to provide only tuition, and from time to time we provide some food stuff to help them. But coming to work on a daily basis is challenging. That's the biggest challenge.
So how are they managing to be able to go through the training? Because for them to be able to learn, to obtain the skills that you bring into them, they have to be available. They have to be on the different sites. You're carrying out the training in which of the states? In Taraba, in Benue?
We are carrying out the training in Cross River State and Taraba State in 6 different LGAs, local government areas in Nigeria. And back to your question, how do they survive? Sometimes it's very difficult to understand how these refugees survive, to be honest. But I know that they do their best. From time to time, they don't show up for training because they have to go look for what to eat. So we have that understanding with the trainers to give them that leeway to be absent every so often to go look for food and sustenance.
All right, so so far, those that you have trained already, we are still talking about the refugees who are in neighboring Nigeria. Those that you have trained so far, are they already able to use the training, to put the training to practice, to be able to earn something?
Yes,
for a living?
A handful of them have. Some of them have managed to look for resources somewhere, and they have opened up little workshops. Others are working in existing workshops. But our biggest challenge now is to provide them with startup opportunities. At the moment, we have already acquired the building in Ecom, Nigeria, and we want to open workshops where they can come in and put into practice what they have acquired in the training centers.
Right, you're planning to open workshops for them. Are you also planning to give them some kind of basic capital to be able to start doing something with what they have acquired, the skills?
Yes. The workshop that we are planning to open in Ecom serves that purpose. So they're going to come in, the workshop will be well equipped, and they will come in and they'll be able to monetize with what they're able to produce at the workshop based on the training. In some other areas, like in Ogoja and Calabar, we're probably going to provide them with some little capital so that they can start up something for themselves.
All right. Now, before we come to this, what you're doing already at the level of Cameroon within the national territory, you started in Chang and then Bamenda. When you put together these facilities, this aid that you're bringing to them, do you consult them, or you just consider that this is what they need and then you bring in the training?
Very good question. Before we embark in any training, we do what we call a need assessment, where we give them a questionnaire and get some feedback from them to know exactly what they want. And in Cameroon, we started this program 3 months ago. In July, we started with a questionnaire, went to Chang at the SDO's office in Chang, and also in Bamenda at the Funds Palace in Kwen. So we invited the IDPs to come, and they would give them a questionnaire, and they filled out their interests, what they wanted to learn, and what skills they want to acquire. So from that questionnaire, we're able to do the selection. And in total, we had over 400 questionnaires filled out.
All right, from the questionnaires, what did you obtain as a result as per the training that they are receiving in terms of specialties or different domains, different trades?
Yes, we did provide to them, because prior to this, we had to find different workshops that are equipped enough to give them quality training. So we gave them what was available and also gave them the opportunity to suggest from that list if there's something that's not available. So from that questionnaire, we're able to process that and see exactly what the trend is.
From the videos, we could see something like mechanical training in mechanics. and then other trainings that you offer. Can you throw more light on that?
Yes, we have training in auto mechanics, and we have specialties in panel beating, regular auto mechanics, and auto electrician. We have metal work, we have glass work, we have tailoring, we have hairdressing, we have computer training as well.
How many came for the training in Chang?
In Chang, because of the resources that we have, we're able to start with 32 IDPs in Chang, and in Bamenda 29.
Why the choice of Chang as far as the West region is concerned?
We realized that Chang is a hub for refugees coming from particularly Libya, and also I was surprised that I found a lot of refugees from Ndop, Banso, and Wum in that area.
It's like a meeting point.
It is.
For
It is.
IDPs coming from the southwest and the northwest.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was very interesting to find out. And the SDO's office in Menua, when Chang is, they have done a good job to document these refugees, these IDPs, and so we have a solid database that we can work from. So we're just piloting this program in Chang and Bamenda. The plan is to expand as the means is available. So we had to start somewhere, and that's why we chose Chang and Bamenda.
All right. In Bamenda, were there many of the IDPs who came out for such a training?
Yes, same thing we did in Chang, we did in Bamenda. We provided those questionnaires, and the funds palace in Kwen is usually where we meet with the IDPs to administer the questionnaires and to get some feedback. And I think we had over 150 that came out from Bamenda.
150. That's quite significant with regards to the atmosphere, which is not very, very favorable. And sometimes when when we talk with some of them, they will tell you that when they start associating themselves with some of these kind of initiatives from NGOs and once again from government, they are tagged as blacklegs or betrayers, and some of them find themselves in difficulties with those who are fighting for cessation and so on.
Yeah, it is a challenging environment to work with. One of the things that we try to make very clear is our apolitical stance. We try to be as organic as possible with humanitarian work. And that is helping a lot, and they have confidence talking with us and dealing with us because we have a humanitarian agenda and nothing more.
Humanitarian agenda and nothing more. And that's where my next question comes in, because some of the humanitarian organizations like yours are often accused of coming with some hidden agenda, coming with some intention to destabilize, conniving with the armed separatists and things like that. Recently we had Médecins Sans Frontières or Doctors Without Borders that suffered these kind of accusations and were suspended in the northwest region, and even in the southwest region recently the authorities said they were conniving with non-state armed group fighters. How are you managing to keep yourself away or above some of these kind of accusations that can become a barrier or hindrance to your activities?
Yeah. First of all, we are registered here in Cameroon and also in Nigeria. So we have respect for local authority. And we have made that a policy to stay apolitical. That message has been echoed in our organization, and every staff of CRR knows that we are very apolitical. We have a board of directors of CRI that has comprised of people from all walks of life. The thing is, everybody has their political stance, but we are telling them to bury that and let's talk humanitarian. We're not going to give up because of the possibility of being tagged one way or another, but we try as much as possible from our own end to be apolitical as possible, not only in what we say, but what we do.
principle of neutrality,
Absolutely.
principle of impartiality. Those are some of the core principles of humanitarian action. Now, in Bamenda, you said about 150 came for the training. Did you take in all the 150?
No, unfortunately, we were only able to take 29 in Bamenda, and the others that were not able to participate in this phase, they're going to have the opportunity to participate in the next phase. Another thing that we have difficulties with is a lot of them drop out. You know, when they hear that there's an NGO in town with some outreach, they run, they come, and because of the state of their situation, hunger and all of that, they are looking for something instant.
They're looking for survival.
They're looking for survival. So when they realize that this training is going to last 1 year, 3 years, some of them are discouraged. And you can understand from where they're coming from. They are hungry. They want to survive. They are thinking about today. But when they understand that it's long term, so some of them drop out, unfortunately, and we have to replace them.
What do you tell them to convince those who are actually going in for the training and are flowing with you in the training? What do you tell them to convince them?
That is the main reason that I came in person, to talk with them and encourage them to stay the course. Some of the trainers are also helping them to give them a little bit of something, to quench down the hunger. And there's no easy way out. We just have to encourage them to stay the course. And hopefully when they're done with their training, their lives will not be the same.
Helping them to understand that they need some kind of long-term tools that will help them not only to have what to eat today,
Exactly.
but to be able to fend for themselves.
Absolutely. We're
Right.
trying to teach them how to fish,
All right.
pretty much.
We are going to take some interviews right now, and we'll be back in some few minutes.
However, government intends to mobilize additional resources for SMEs with the support of our development partners. This is because definitely small and medium-sized enterprises, notably youth entrepreneurship, can and should serve as key drivers of our country's economic and social transformation. However, many programs are already being implemented as part of the day-to-day activities of several ministries with a high potential. The purpose of all of these actions is to foster and boost youth entrepreneurship. By the way, I am pleased to note that in 2021, all these programs and projects were financed to the tune of 190 billion CFA francs. This unquestionably is a significant effort that reflects the critical role small and medium-sized enterprises play in our economy. I am pleased to note that many of our youth have a remarkable mastery of digital technology, particularly through the creation of numerous startups in various fields. I urge them to be more inventive and creative in the digital economy sector, which has bright prospects for the future. Yet, while we may commend the rapid adoption of digitalization by our youth, we condemn the abuses noted in the use of such technological advances, especially on social media, where vice, hate, speech, and verbal violence abound and are increasingly rife. Accordingly, I urge our youth to use social media in a responsible, informed, and constructive manner, as their primary role is to provide platforms and opportunities for discussion, information, and communication in a wide range of fields. You must be aware of your role of promoting Cameroon's image and influence wherever you may be. Follow the example of some of your valiant compatriots like Francis Ngannou, Francis Chofo, and Eric Salvador Nchoyo, who recently won titles in their respective disciplines. Their outstanding performances and sense of duty and sacrifice highlighted their great sense of patriotism and did Cameroon proud.
The message to the youth of the Southwest after the address of the head of state is the message of congratulations for what the youth have done here in the Southwest during the CAR.
I would like here to reiterate to our youth the advices given by the head of state during his address to the youth. And the first things we noted is the congratulations addressed by head of state to our youth for the successful AFCON that we host in our country. During this sport event, we noticed that Cameroonians are really united. And the head of state yesterday tried to point out the values that sustain this event during 3 weeks in Cameroon. The head of state also once more advised our youth to make a good use of social media. Social media are an important tool for our development and not a tool to destroy ourselves, to destroy our country, or to destroy the image of our country. And concerning the image of our country, the head of state also insisted on the fact that we have to avoid to tarnish the image of our country, our beloved country, because it is our country, and every one of us, we have one country, Cameroon.
The message is clear. Muyuka has come back. We are very happy with what we witnessed this morning. We ourselves were witnesses of the resounding success which this day recorded in this subdivision.
I am a very happy man today. A happy man not because today is a youth day, but a happy man because the youth of Muyuka have decided to come out massively to celebrate this day that has been absent in the minds of the Muyuka youth for the past 4 years. Especially at this point in time when the head of state has made known to them that he understands their problem and has created is creating in the days ahead a national employment council for the youth.
From when the YCPD militants of Muyuka decided to make me the section president, they have that conviction that together we can deliver with me at the forefront.
The speech of the head of state to the youth was very clear, and the only thing I have to say here is congratulations to the youth that came out to celebrate this day. I want to call on them to feast responsibly and continue to represent the nation well in this subdivision.
Today is my first day that I've participated since from primary school, because at first when I was in primary school in Bamenda, strike started when we wanted to go and march. So there was no way for us to go and march, so I came here Also, I was in primary school, way to go and march was not way because COVID-19 came up. So I'm so happy. So I thank the president.
When we look at joblessness among youth, we can blame the youth and we can also blame the government. If we look at the youth, Cameroon youths have developed a habit of laziness. They depend on the government for everything. They spend their time writing concours. They spend a lot of money writing concours year in, year out. The money they spend on concours, they could have started a business and they go from there. When you look at our Bamileke youth, they are an example. They start from little and they are the biggest entrepreneurs in the country. So our youth should copy from the Bamileke youth. When you look at our youth today, they go to universities, they spend time, they learn how to dupe scamming. They don't focus on training themselves well to get to the job market. Even those who graduate from universities, they want to earn lavish jobs at the beginning of their career. They want to earn salaries of hundreds of thousands, 500,000. They don't want to start from a basic salary of 70, 80, 90,000. They just want to start earning a lavish life. So with this situation, our youths need to be patient because growth is a process. And they need to also train themselves. You cannot expect to have a befitting job without the necessary training. Our youth should focus on their education, focus on their training, and should always make an attempt to start a business. And they should not focus on the government providing jobs for them. The government can also be blamed for joblessness among youth. When you look at those in government, first of all, they are very old people. In fact, Cameroon is run by our ancestors. They are very old people who don't have good ideas for the promotion of the youth. Can you imagine that in this country, to obtain a land certificate, you must be above 45 years? So that tells you that the policies in Cameroon do not favor youths at all. And then to own a school, for example, you must have a land certificate. Therefore, the government policy says if you are less than 45, you cannot own a school. You cannot own a land. You cannot have a land certificate. These are some of the government policies that push back our youth. And the taxes that the government put on young people who want to start businesses. You see a young person wants to run a shop. The government comes with so many taxes. The council tax, the patang, so many taxes. With all this, it discourages some of the youths to even get into business. So the government on her part should reduce taxes. You go to other countries, they give tax holidays to young businesses who run for a while before paying taxes. In Cameroon, I've never heard of any government office granting tax holiday to young businesses to let these businesses go. Rather, they give tax holiday to big businesses, people who have already made billions. Those are the people who have tax holidays, who don't pay all their taxes. But when you look at small business people trying to go, young people, youths who are trying to run businesses, these are the people who have heavily taxed. So the government should also do well to help these youth and reduce the taxes, and they should not put multitudes of taxes. They should limit the number of taxes that are imposed on the young businesses. In addition, when the government also launched a concours for recruitment of 5,000 young Cameroonians into the public sector, these things should be transparent. They should not use it as a means of collecting more bribes for young people or a means of raising funds for the government. Because when the government said 5,000 youths will be recruited, you see more than 100,000 Cameroonians sending their application and they buy what they call mandat in French. When they pay this money into the government coffers, you see that the government makes billions just from launching this concours. So it seems as if the government is exploiting Cameroonians from launching this concours. So the government should really look into the way they treat their youth. We say the youth of a country is the future. Cameroon should look at the way they treat their youth. You see, many Cameroonians believe that you cannot make it in the private sector or you cannot make it at all in Cameroon. Many parents are the one derailing their children. Many parents believe they must send their children abroad to make it, or their children must go into ENAM, ERIC, or one of these public schools to become civil servants to make it. That is why people can spend millions to look for means to let their children get into some of these public schools or to send them abroad. But they cannot give them those same millions to start businesses. And this is the mistake many parents make. I decided that I will not pester my parents to take money and travel, but I would rather use the money to start a small business. And I started from very little beginnings. Today, I'm the proprietor of a school. So I'm encouraging youths. Don't think that it's only going outside the country that you will succeed. You spend 8 million to go to the United States of America. Somebody who stays back in Cameroon and take that same 8 million to run a business and concentrate on that business will make it better, and he will be making it in his country in a comfortable environment because he's at home, than you going to a foreign land where you will not be treated with respect no matter how you make it. So I encourage young Cameroonians not to focus only on concours. These concours, first of all, are very corrupt. Most of the concours are very corrupt. You go to ENAM, you have corruption, ENS corruption, all the concours, most of them in Cameroon are corrupt. Not up to 5% of the candidates are taken out of merit. We all know that. So why do you spend your energy every year? You buy mandat for concours, buy mandat for concours. The money you spend to do all these things, the bribes you give to get into into the public sector, use this same money to start up a little business and work hard in that business, and we are going to make it. The first thing the government should do, when foreign companies come to invest in Cameroon, the government should place a quota of Cameroonians who should be employed. It is done in other countries. I don't know why our government is so bad that they cannot do that. If, for example, MTN leaves South Africa, is coming to Cameroon, Orange leaves France, is coming to Cameroon, the government should, before signing any contract, the government should say 90% of the employees should be Cameroonians. These are the kind of things that the general manager should be a Cameroonian. These are some of the conditions in terms of bringing international companies into Cameroon. The government should give this condition so that these companies can benefit the youth. But of course, when these people come mostly through the back door, they come and install companies in Cameroon and they make billions. They capital flight, they take out the money, and our youths are paid pebbles. They are paid pebbles. You see companies in Cameroon, they pay expatriate. Those coming from other countries receive very huge salary. But our own Cameroonians who work in the same company receive far less. In some cases, 10 times less. I have a case of a petroleum company, which I will not call the name here for obvious reason, where people who come from abroad, expatriate, they earn millions a month. Why Cameroonians who work there earn just 200,000? You look at the disparity in the salary between people doing the same job, because some of them are expatriate. And there is this rubbish that most of these companies don't employ directly because they are contracting firms in Cameroon. When companies come in, they pass through contracting firms who must give them employee, and they take a percentage from their salary. These are very bad government salaries. These companies coming from abroad to invest in Cameroon should employ their workers directly, should not pass through contracting firms who take a percentage of the salary. These are the bad things the government of Cameroon is doing to kill the youths. And if they change some of this policy, the youths will be happier. Youths will stop going abroad. You look at our youth, some of them are going to the Middle East. They do mean jobs, they suffer, some of them die in the Middle East. But meanwhile, if we treat them well in Cameroon, most of them will not be traveling abroad.
I think the internet is a very good thing. That's one of the first things we must say. Young people particularly are very interested in using the internet because it gives them leverage to access information that traditionally they could not access. But that said, there's been an increased wrong use of the internet. We've seen people using the internet to spread information which is not true. We're talking about fake news, misinformation and disinformation. But we're also seeing people using the internet to spread hate speech, which is one of the things we are very much concerned about. Also, we're seeing people who are using the internet for other purposes such as research and other things. But in the wrong use of the internet, particularly in Cameroon, we've seen many more people spreading hate speech on social media platforms. You made mention of Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. Facebook comes first as to social media platforms used in Cameroon in which internet is not rightly used, particularly. We're also seeing many people in Cameroon thinking that the internet is all about social media, which is not true. So we're trying to educate people around the use of internet, the rightful use of the internet. One of the main cry we have today is that people take actions that are being posted online to offline exercises. Something is said online and it's been replicated offline in a particular society and community, which is not very good for us. And it's a challenge we're battling with.
Yes, not only those that you've mentioned, but we are also seeing harassment that is happening almost every day on the internet. Young people tend to think sharing nude pictures of themselves and videos of other people on the internet is a good thing. We are also seeing not only hate speech, misinformation and disinformation, but we're seeing shocking videos, very graphic, of either accidents or people who've been at times decapitated. These people take joy and pride in sharing these on the internet. Yes, different platforms across the internet have policies as to the sharing of this, but as days go by, we think we're educating people, but that keeps coming, and it keeps coming back over and over. Sexual harassment is one of the things we're seeing on both sexes on the internet, which is one of the vices in which it's a double-fold problem. Yes, there's ignorance. The people who are ignorant of the problem of information sharing. They just think sharing information, they have the right to share everything. So unconsciously they share such information. But there are people who are well informed that this information they're sharing it to create panic in the community. We're talking of people who sit somewhere and say, let's push out this information to get people afraid. This is one of, yes, this is propaganda that we see. But also remember that internet penetration is one of the things. We're seeing more and more people having access to the internet. With 100 francs in Cameroon, you can buy access to the internet for over 24 hours. This means that every citizen can have access to this. And the more you stay on the internet, the more you're tempted to post information which is not true, which is even, at times, these are things you don't intend to post. And because many people are not used to doing this, some can even post information by accident, and it gets online. Some even use this as blackmail on other people. That's why I said it's consciously and unconsciously. But yes, internet penetration rate has also an effect on the population on here. Yes, people, it's not a new phenomenon. People have always used the internet to try to maximize, most especially political gains. Not only political gains, but economic gains as well. One of the problems we see mostly is that we have people who are well coordinated, because you see a particular trend moves from 8 a.m. in the morning to about 5 p.m. in the evening and stops. And the whole evening and the whole night, you don't see this trend, which means that this is well coordinated. People sit somewhere and work like a normal working day. You also have people with the same mistakes of using particular language on the internet, and this runs for a particular period of time. We do believe that there are people out there using this to say, we can say it's A or B, we can't really say for now. But yes, people are using, making great use of the internet, and some of them are making a wrong use of the internet as we speak. This is just an isolated case of what we see on the internet. It happens every day, maybe just because it does not take the same magnitude, or we're not very interested in this, and that's why we don't see. People are using the internet to either affirm the identity, affirm the national consciousness. We're not only seeing this in Europe, but most across Africa, in other countries. And yes, there is work to be done as far as this is concerned, because public authorities need to step up and educate the public on the use of the internet. I think influencers, be them artists, be them media men, be them just citizen journalists who produce content online and seek to have views, we're conscious that there are people out there who are looking only to have many likes for the wrong purpose. They could prefer to share very obscene videos or photos just to have views and likes on Facebook and Twitter and the rest of the other platforms. But one of the things we think we should, or the public should do, is to turn this power against the wrong use of the internet. We are very concerned about the wrong use of this, and we think we should rather use them to influence a peaceful and a cohesive society between people, and not just look at them from the negative perspective. Yes, we cannot gainsay the fact that there are people out there who are looking for what some other persons call cheap popularity, in which they can post anything just as far as it brings them likes and brings them people online to come and actually see what they're. I think everyone has a digital signature online, and this is what many people don't know. What you publish today is going to haunt you tomorrow, be it for good or for bad. And this is the first thing that the public should know, Cameroonians generally should know. The first consequence of the wrong use of internet is that it tears and divides our society. You publish things, be it misinformation or even, let me say, malinformation or fake news, or even hate speech. You're not only hitting the person, your opponent, but you're hitting a whole community. So it's not a question of just an individual putting out an action, but it's a question of a whole community suffering the consequences of an individual's postings on Facebook and on Twitter. But also, remember, permit me use the example Twitter and Facebook at least for this case. But also remember that in our context today, we're seeing many more people who think, yes, I would say it and that is it, it's going to go away. But the people who've been denied jobs, the people who've been denied access into employment, into even other countries and into services, just because of what they said months, years, or even decades ago on the internet. So we need to be very, very responsible the way we use the internet. We need to be transparent, be clear, be exact. We need to be very prudent and make our intentions known when we're writing on the internet. Exactly. You would bear with me that there are online actions that lead to offline repercussions. There are people who say things online that their communities take these things offline and then act on them. There are people who also actually take information which is not well verified online and then put them offline. And also vice versa. So this is something we see every day. It's not just what is posted online, but it's how this is acted upon offline by people who have even limited knowledge of what the internet is all about. They just said it was said on the internet and they believe it's gospel truth. And they say if it's on the internet, even if it's Wikipedia or anywhere, they say yes, it's gospel truth and they take it and people act on it.
How far can...
Okay, one of the key things I want to say is internet has shaped policy, most especially public policy. There is no country that lives that is not living most especially on the internet. So whatever is happening online, public authorities are always very conscious of them. And then it can shape the way actions being taken on the ground. Yes, in Cameroon, in the northwest, in the southwest, we saw instances in which things are said online, and in the next day we see physical action offline on the ground. We saw this too with the cases of the Boko Haram, and we're very conscious that actions that are taken online do not just go unnoticed. There are people watching the internet. There are people, most especially public authorities, who have the mandate to do so, who watch and see what is happening, and then they can shape and change their policies as far as this is concerned. We've seen remember we had a very serious problem in this country when we had the phone tax. It was being suspended, I think, partly because of the pressure that came from the social media with the end phone tax hashtag. We've had other countries that have used different examples. Bring Back Our Girls in Nigeria, and Anglophone Crisis in Cameroon, and so on and so forth. So we're seeing public authorities getting closer and closer to the internet to see what is actually happening on the internet and taking policy decisions based on what is happening on the internet.
And sometimes
I think it does not only radicalize, but it traumatizes the public. It's a very traumatizing issue that we see even blood on our internet space, which is not good. Some internet users have decided not to actually share some of such pictures or images, which is a good thing, but others take joy in sharing some of those type of content to say I was the first person who shared it, I saw it, I shared it, breaking news, which is exactly. One of the things that has happened is that yes, this has radicalized many people. People are now unconscious, and they don't have that human feeling again for blood. They see blood and it's like it's normal. And when this happens, we're heading the wrong way, which means we're becoming insensitive to inhumanity. And this trend needs to change. If it does not change, we're getting the wrong way. If people continuously see blood and say it's normal, then many more people are going to be hurt and we're going to say nothing in our different societies.
What about it?
Exactly. I think the morals of many young people in Cameroon have greatly been impacted by what is the content that is consumed from the internet, be it in video, in photo, in audio, and even in text. Remember that you can stay in your room and see what is happening in the US, see what is happening in the UK, see what is happening in Germany and China and all over the world. But also remember that there are sites that without parental control, which is not a big thing in this country, you can even access and see some of these type of disgusting scenes you're describing here. It has gone a long way to change and shape the way even people of our generation, I say our generation, the young people, respond to societal issues. It's very normal for you to see somebody insult an elderly person just because maybe he's seen that on the internet, and that is done in different culture. Yes, these are some of the negative aspects in which the internet has brought along. But yes, there's still very positive aspects in which young people who go onto the internet to carry out very good research have proven to us. Public policy, I mean government here, should first of all be made to understand that it's their responsibility to embrace the digital world. We cannot shut down the internet, but rather we can give out education and control its usage based on what is within our own community. Access to information is a fundamental right in which all governments are even very much aware of that, and that is why we are even having access to the internet. The government, for instance, of Cameroon has taken a number of measures through different ministries and through different texts to make sure that they regulate the way the internet is being used. Yes, we are still in our early stage of the experience of the internet compared to other countries, and the government is still trying its best. Nevertheless, the government is still very much lacking as far as internet regulation is concerned. We still have laws of 1990s governing internet usage of the 2000s and 10s, 2020s, with practices that have completely changed. One of the things that parents in Cameroon do not very much do is that we see instances in which people, students, very young people as young as 10, are allowed to watch even content that is rated 16 or 17 because there is no parental control. Parents just think, yes, it's there, it's on the internet, so they should watch it. We even see infobesity in which children tend to consume a lot of information, more than they can handle. And that is why we call on parents to actually limit at times to 2 hours or 3 hours access to the internet to their kids or to their younger children, so that at the end of the day, we don't have a society which is practicing or preaching virtue and practicing vice. Think before you click is a very simple way of contributing to not only access to information, but the right information and a sane online space. One of the things we do on the think before you click is to tell people that you should actually think before you click. Be transparent in what you're clicking. Don't be the first person. Don't share to say, okay, I was the first person to share this information. What is the intent behind you're sharing? Where is the source of that information you're sharing? Will this information hurt somebody? Put yourself in the shoes of another person you're sharing this information against or with, and then see how you would feel. Think before you click is just it's not just a hashtag, but it's a national call for us to only not forward as received, not just say, yes, I screenshotted this from the internet and I put it here, not just to retweet and say retweets are not my opinions, but also to say, yes, we have the responsibility that everything we share can damage our society at large. I would say the most recent one has been the pen not gun hashtag. I think it went out yesterday. It's just an initiative to say we need more pens in schools and not guns in schools. We're engaging young people to tell them you should actually write down your complaints, use the internet the right way, and push them forward. But we are also engaging a lot with the media, be it mainstream media or new medias. I'm talking here about Media for Peace, where we're using the media to catalyze Cameroonians to go towards peace, or the African Fact-Checking Fellowship, in which we're getting bloggers, online content producers to be real game changers and to create a critical mass of people who verify information before they push online. But also, very importantly, we're engaging artists, youth leaders of all walks of life in all sectors in Cameroon to make sure that they become elements of change. They become that path through which change comes and goes through. These are just some of the things we're doing at DeFi as of now. We must be very responsible for what we do, be it online and offline.
The big thanks for staying with us. We are still with our guest, Dr. Atancho Celestine, is the board chair of Community Refugee Relief Initiative, CRRI. Now, let's talk about the next phase, or how far you intend to go with these initiatives, because there are still probably thousands and thousands who are expecting, hoping that they too will have the opportunity to acquire some skills that will help them carry on with life. How far do you intend to go with this?
The only thing that is going to limit us, Babila, is resources. As far as the resources are there, we're going to push to whatever level that will take us to. I told those I met on the ground, especially those who were not able to join this phase, there's definitely going to be phase 2 of this training. That is for sure. We're also being very careful because we want to be able to provide startup opportunities after graduation. So we don't want to bite more than we can chew. So to answer your question, if we have the resources, we will take it to the level that will lead us to.
All right, though you are a humanitarian organization and you're supposed to be impartial and of course neutral, are you receiving some aid from within Cameroon and without to be able to carry on with this? Or you're depending on yourself and other persons who are collaborating with you?
Yes. Right now, we have been able to stay afloat thanks to donations from individuals. The board members of CRI, when push comes to shove, we have to dip our hands deep and see how we can support the program. There are times where we have gone to a level where account balance is 0, and we have to deep in our pockets, put some money on the table so that we can continue with our activities. We have some friends who have come to appreciate what we do and the support. So for right now, only individuals.
Earlier on, you talked about Dynamic Alliance USA.
Dynamic Alliance USA is a group of young Cameroonians in the US in their 20s. So they approached me and they wanted to support the training program in Cameroon. And I invited them to partner with CRRI so that we can do this together. And so what you see on the ground today in Chang and Bemanda is thanks to the efforts of CRRI and Dynamic Alliance USA.
All right, you're certainly not only trying to help those who are in this situation because of the conflict that is going on, but you probably and certainly, like every other person of goodwill, looking up to that day when the killings, the destruction will come to an end, so that the numbers of IDPs and refugees will not continue increasing.
Absolutely. If you come to a house that is flooding, the first thing you turn off the tap. So if you don't have that sustainable solution from the origin of the problem, then you cannot contain the exponential effect of the situation. So you're quite correct. We are looking for that day where this whole thing will come to an end.
Do you expect it so soon? Do you see that it's going to come soon?
We can only be hopeful, Babylon.
All right. We can only be hopeful. We are communicating hope.
Absolutely.
Communicating hope to everybody. Hope for better days ahead.
Absolutely.
When we will go back to our peace, stability, and people will be able to move around freely and live without fear.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, Doctor, for coming to talk to us.
My pleasure, Babylon. Thanks for having me.
Safe return to the United States.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in this edition of The Insight. That's it for today. Bye-bye.